The edge of the starry sea is always so peaceful, as if the entire universe has held its breath. Only the occasional low-key engine reminds me that this darkness is not completely empty. I sat in the Thunder driver, staring at the broken holographic screen in front of me, holding a bottle of synthetic beverages that I don't know how long it took to last. Thunder is the last flag of the Star Alliance. It sounds very powerful, but it is actually a bunch of shrouded waste wires, the kind that may fall apart at any time. I am Carl Thunder, the last leader of the Alliance. It is said that it is a ship leader, but it is actually more like a wandering Han, carrying this broken ship and wandering around the sea of stars, hiding from those who want to turn my brain into money. After the collapse of the Alliance, the galaxy became a porridge, and countless fragments of civilization were scattered everywhere. Each civilization had its own laws. Whenever it was reversed and the space was folded, it hurt to hear it. These laws conflict with each other, making the entire star sea like a minefield that will explode at any time. And I was still hiding the whereabouts of a rare energy crystal. This thing is said to be able to restart the Alliance's core engine and bring hope to this chaotic galaxy. But the problem is that I don't know where it is. I just know that I have become the target of everyone because of this. There is a scavenger order circulating in the black market, with a high price, and the target is me. Who can hand me over? I guess I can buy the second half of the galaxy directly. Carl, the engine is starting to shake again. Aaron Starwoo's voice came from the communication device, interrupting my thoughts. She is my deputy and the only one on this broken ship who is still reliable. Aaron is good at analyzing the laws of different civilizations and can always help me get sleepy at the critical moment. Although she sometimes talks with shame, I would have been finished without her. Just shake, just shake. Anyway, this boat should have entered the museum. I sighed, threw the beverage can and got up and walked to the console. The engine status was displayed on the screen, and the red warning marks kept flashing, as if laughing at me. Don't joke, Carl. If the engine is not repaired, we may not even reach the next star field. Aaron's voice was a little impatient. I just scanned the scrapped supplement station nearby, and I said I might find some parts. Would you like to go and take a look? Bake aside to the station? It sounds like a trap. I curled my lips, but my hands had already begun to adjust the route. The situation of Thunder is indeed not long, and no matter how dangerous it is to be, it is better to be dead in the starry sea. After adjusting the route, I leaned on the back of the chair, closed my eyes and wanted to rest for a while. But the brain is full of the rewards. A few months ago, I heard this at a black market trading station and thought it was a joke. But it took no time for a gold salary hunter to come to the door and almost knock the Thunder number into a sieve. Eileen and I have been running away from those raving guys since then. Carl, here. Aaron's voice sounded again, and I opened my eyes and saw a broken supplementary station on the holographic screen. It floats in the sea of stars, like a abandoned iron shell, surrounded by slaughter and garbage. It doesn't seem to be very popular, but this kind of place often hides greater dangers. Scan to see if there are any ambushes. I said to Aaron, and at the same time, the Thunder's hidden mode was activated. Although this feature is old, it can at least make us less eye-catching. The scan results show no abnormal life phenomena, but the energy fluctuations are a bit strange. Aaron's voice was filled with doubts. It may be that the remaining equipment added to the station is operating, or it may be something else. What else? Don't sell me, tell me clearly. I raised my eyebrows and put my hands on the weapon control key. It's hard to say. It may be the silence of some civilized law. This place used to be an outpost of the Alliance, and it might have been occupied by a civilization, leaving behind traces of the law. Arrington said, "Why do I go down with you and have a look?" "No, you stay on the boat and you can still accept me whenever you have anything to do." I stood up and checked the light armor and gun on my body. Although this set is not very good, it can at least allow me to sweep a few more seconds in small-scale conflicts. Through the air gate of Thunder, I stepped onto the broken deck that supplemented the station. The air was filled with a smell of metal rot, and the floor under the feet squeaked, as if it would collapse at any time. It was dark all around, and only a few urgent lights were still flashing faintly. I opened the poop detector on my wrist, and the structure of the supplementary station was displayed on the screen, and the parts warehouse was not far ahead. "Carl, be careful, I just detected another wave of energy wave, and it's near you." Aaron's voice came from the headphones, with a little tightness. "I'll pay attention when I received it." I pressed my low voice, tightened my hand and walked forward slowly. The corridors that supplement the station are filled with scrapped equipment and broken containers. Sometimes some strange symbols can be seen engraved on the wall, which look like traces of some civilized law. My heart was so nervous that this place was indeed not simple. When I walked to the door of the parts warehouse, I suddenly heard a low buzzing sound, as if something was running. I stopped and looked at the corner of the wall and found that a small holographic projection device was floating in the center of the warehouse, projecting a familiar and creepy image, that surrender. Carl Thunder, the last leader of the Star Alliance, the money, 100 million stars, life and death are unrelated. The mechanical sound on the projection replicated this sentence coldly, and the image of my head and Thunder were also displayed next to it. "Don't die, why are you here?" I lowered my curse and quickly turned off the sound output of the detector to avoid exposing the location. It seems that this place has been trapped by the gold-paying hunter, and they may be on the way. "Carl, the situation is not right." I detected a flying boat on the boat that was approaching at high speed. The energy characteristics were in line with the tracking boat of the gold hunter. Aaron's voice suddenly sounded, "You have to come back immediately." "It's too late." I clenched my teeth and quickly urged into the warehouse. I grabbed a few engine parts that seemed to be useful and stuffed into my backpack. At this moment, the wall that supplemented the station suddenly shook, followed by a huge explosion from afar. "Carl, they directly exploded the outer deck that was added to the station. I guess they wanted to come in directly." Aaron's voice was almost shouting, "You find a place to hide, I'll try to start the Thunder defense system to meet you." "Hide? Where can I hide?" I looked around and saw that there was no place to hide in the warehouse except for breaking the wall. At this moment, I noticed that there was a half-open repair passage in the corner of the wall, which was pitch black inside, so it could barely allow someone to diamond it in. I didn't think much about it, but I rushed over and shrank into the passage. It was covered in dust and oily, which tasted extremely unpleasant, but I couldn't take these and could only hold my breath and make no sounds. Outside the passage, the heavy footsteps were getting closer and closer, and with the sound of metal collision, it sounded like a fully equipped guy. "He is nearby," and I heard his smell. A low and cold sound came out, like a bad ghost crawling out of the ground. My heart sank. I heard this sound, Zack Darkblade, the most notorious gold snatcher in the Star Sea. He is proficient in the laws of many civilizations, and his methods are ruthless, saying that he has never missed it. "Don't worry, Zack, the law here will help us find him." Another voice sounded like Zack's companion, "I have activated the tracking device, and his energy fluctuations can't escape." I bit my teeth tightly, my palms were covered in sweat. Although this passage is narrow, it won't be hidden for long. I know Zack's guy's methods very well. If he uses the method to follow, I will never have the chance to run. I have to think of a way to take my back, otherwise I will really explain this today. "Irene, can you interfere with their tracking devices?" I whispered and said to the headphones. "Try it, but I need some time." Aaron's voice was filled with a tight voice, "You hold on first, don't let them find you." "Stop?" It's easy to say. I took a deep breath, moved slowly, and tried to climb deep into the passage. But at this moment, a sharp sound suddenly came from outside the passage, like the static charge of some kind of energy weapon. "Finished." Zack's voice brought a burst of excitement, followed by a huge sound. The metal wall at the entrance of the passage was blown open directly, and a strong light shone in, making me unable to open my eyes. "Carl Thunder, the game is over." Zack's voice was cold as ice. I could feel that he was standing at the entrance of the passage, and his weapon was right for me. My heart beat fast as if it was about to explode, but my brain was unusually cold. "You can't sit and wait, you must try it." I quickly took out an old-fashioned electromagnetic plug from my backpack. Although this thing is not fatal, it can interfere with the electronic equipment in a short time. Zach's tracking devices and weapons mostly rely on energy to drive, which is my only chance. Go to yours, Zach. I shouted, threw the bullet out with all my strength, and closed my eyes and prepared to welcome the explosion. Bang! With a slight clamor, the slam blasted open at the entrance of the passage, and the electromagnetic waves instantly spread. Zach's weapon made a harsh noise, which seemed to be interfered. I took this opportunity to rush out of the passage and ran to the deep end of the station without looking back. Don't want to run, Zach roared. Although his weapon was temporarily out of power, this guy's skills were not good. Irene, are the Thunder number ready? I need to evacuate immediately. I gasped and shouted at the earphones. It's almost done, the defense system has been activated, but you have to go to the gate first before I can accept you. Aaron's voice answered hurriedly. The air gate was still at the other end of the station, the distance was not short, and Zach was following me. I bit my teeth and flew around my brain, trying to find out how to remove myself. At this time, I noticed a fork next to it leading to the old energy room that supplemented the station. There may be a remnant energy device inside, which may delay Zach if it can be used. I turned around suddenly and rushed into the fork in the road, while taking out a pre-used energy dagger from my waist. This thing is not very powerful, but at least it gives me some self-protection ability. The door of the energy room was half open and it was dim, but I didn't have time to hesitate and rushed in. There is an old energy reaction furnace in the center of the room. Although it has stopped running, there is still a faint energy fluctuation around it. I quickly looked around and found a control panel next to the reaction stove, with several indicator lights on it. It seems that this thing works. Carl, what are you fucking? Zach is about to catch up. Aaron's voice sounded in the earphones, with obvious anxiety. Give me 30 seconds, I have an idea. I quickly operated the control panel and tried to start the loading mode of the reaction furnace. If successful, the energy office will release a wave of energy shocks, enough to allow Zach to retreat temporarily. The indicator lights on the panel begin to flash, reacting with a low buzzing sound, and the energy fluctuations are getting stronger and stronger. I know this thing can get out of control at any time, but I don't have a choice. Carl Thunder, do you think this little trick can hold me? Zach's voice came from his door. He had chased him to the energy room, holding an energy knife in his hand, and the blade was filled with dangerous light. Can you hold it down? You'll know if you try it. I grinned and pressed the last button with my fingers. A huge sound came out in the instant of the reaction, and the energy impact wave exploded from the core and spread out toward the surroundings. Zach's face changed and he quickly retreated, but I didn't have time to see his wolf-like appearance. The slammed waves directly overturned me to the ground and hit the wall, causing my eyes to get dark. Carl, are you okay? Answer me quickly. Aaron's voice sounded in the headphones, but my brain was buzzing and I couldn't respond at all. I could only get up with all my might and ran towards the gate. Although Zach was forced back by the attack, this guy is not an ordinary person and he will soon catch up with him. I have to go back to Thunder before this or it's all over. My brain was still buzzing, and the impact on my head made my eyes turn black, but I didn't dare to stop under my feet, and I stumbled towards the direction of the air gate. The corridor that supplemented the station seemed to be endless, and the broken equipment and scattered debris on both sides made me feel like I was stepping on a mine every step. Behind him, although Zach's stomp was slowed down by the energy slam, the guy's roar was still so clear that it made people creepy. Carl Thunder, you can't escape. Zach's voice seemed to be transmitted from the ground, low and full of murder. I bit my teeth tightly and didn't dare to turn around. I held the energy dagger tightly in my hand, and knew in my heart that this thing was against him and didn't even look at it. Irene, how far is the gate? I gasped and shouted to the earphones, my voice changing a little. Let's go straight and turn the next swing. Thunder is in place. I've opened the external defense turret, but you have to hurry up, Zach's flying boat is approaching. Aaron's voice was as fast as if it was about to explode. I could hear that she was also operating the thunder system with all her strength. After turning, the air gate finally appeared in front of me. The broken iron door was full of shaved wire, but it was like a life-saving straw to me. I slammed the last bit of energy and took a quick photo of the opening button. The door opened slowly, and a harsh friction sound came out, as if laughing at me as if I was so slow. "Carl, behind!" Aaron suddenly shouted, and I instinctively walked over and avoided an energy sword light. The sword light brushed my shoulder and slashed a deep crack directly on the wall, sparking 4 times. I turned around and saw that Zack had already chased him, with a sneer on his face, and the long energy knife flashed cold light in his hand. "The game is over, Long." He approached step by step, his language filled with ridicule. "Steal everything you know about the energy crystal, I can make you die happily." "I think beautifully." I gritted my teeth and quickly retreated to the gate, and my brain flew quickly. The door was not completely opened. Zack's knife was almost at my front, so I could only lift the dagger and slap it. The 2 weapons were colliding together, and the energy fluctuations made my arms numb, almost unable to hold the dagger. At this moment, the air gate finally opened completely, and the external turret of thunder emitted a low bird, and the muzzle was correct to the inside of the station. Aaron's voice came from the headphones. "Carl, lie down." Without thinking too much, I directly swept to the ground, and the energy beam of the turret swept over me and rushed straight towards Zack. He reacted very quickly, and his side flashed, and the energy beam only wiped his armor and exploded a spark. But this blow dragged him down for at least a few seconds. I took the opportunity to get up and rushed into the gate without looking back. The thunder door was just ahead. "Close, close the door!" I yelled at Aaron as soon as I entered the truck. She quickly operated the system and the gate began to close. But Zack's guy was not a human at all. He forced himself to use the firepower of the turret to rush over, and the long knife in his hand directly penetrated into the door, trying to prevent the door from closing. Is this guy a monster? My heart sank, and I quickly rushed to the console to help Irene operate the urgent closing program together. The door was finally completely closed in Zack's roar, but we all know that this door couldn't hold him for long. "Carl, help the safety belt, we have to fly immediately," Aaron said, starting the thunder engine, and the broken ship made an overwhelming squeak, as if it would fall apart at any time. I stumbled into the driver's seat, helped the safety belt, and saw through the holographic screen that Zack's flying boat was approaching and his energy weapon was charging. Can this broken ship hold it? I couldn't help asking, and there was a flash of hope in the sound. You have to try to be able to hold on if you can. Aaron gritted her teeth and pulled the bolt suddenly. The thunder number shook violently and rushed towards the depths of the starry sea. Zack's flying boat was chasing him tightly, and the energy beams were connected to each other, and the Thunder Guard shield warning lights kept flashing. The shield energy is only 30%. Carl, we have to find a place to get rid of him. Aaron's head was full of sweat, and her fingers were operating quickly on the control panel. Get rid of him? It's easy to say, this guy is like a crazy dog. I looked at the star and tried to find a place to hide. Suddenly, I noticed a small star cloud nearby, with extremely unstable energy fluctuations, which looked like a destruction area of some civilized law. Irene, fly towards that star cloud, saying that you may be able to use the law to interfere with him. I pointed to the position on the star map, and the language was filled with a chaotic priest. Are you sure? The rules in that place are very volatile, we may be trapped in it. Aaron pointed her eyebrows, but her hands had already begun to adjust the route. It's better to be trapped in it than to be caught by Zack. I clenched my teeth and stared at the tracking data on the screen. Thunder pierced into the star clouds, and the dense star dust and energy waves instantly wrapped us, and the ship began to shake violently, as if it would be torn apart at any time. The law has been in effect, and Zack's flight signal is weakening. Aaron's voice finally brought hope, but as soon as her face changed, but our system is also affected, and the engine output has dropped. I can't help but say it anymore. I held the handrail tightly, and felt that the whole person was about to be shaken apart. The storm and star cloud has indeed helped us interfere with Zach's tracking, but it also made the Thunder's situation worse. Warning lights light up one after another, and the engine's low buzzer sound became weaker. Just when I thought we were going to be done, thunder finally broke out of star cloud. In front of me was a strange star field, empty and without any trace signal. I let out a breath and leaned against the back of the chair, feeling that all the energy in my body was exhausted. Zach should have been blown up at a moment, but we have to fix the engine tightly, otherwise it won't be so good next time. Erin wiped her sweat and began to check the ship's damage data. Her face was not very good looking, and it was obvious that the thunder was worse than I thought. Yes, are the parts one got at the supplement station still there? I suddenly remembered what was in my backpack and unzipped the safety belt for inspection. Fortunately, those few broken parts were thrown into pieces, but they were still useful even though they were evenly broken. It can be repaired, but it cannot be repaired well. At least it can make the engine hold for a while. Erin took the parts and started working. I sat aside, my brain couldn't stop. Zach didn't catch me this time, but he would never give up. Who issued that reward order? Why do you have to be me? Carl, what are you thinking? Erin asked while tidying the engine, as if she had seen through my thoughts. Ask for the verdict. I always think this is not pure for the energy crystal, and there must be a bigger slight behind it. I browed, my brain full of the holographic projection of the site. To be honest, the prize money for the award order is high. Even Zach's top-level award winners have moved forward, indicating that the people who have issued the order are not simple. Erin pointed at the head, stopped the work in her hand, and turned to look at me. We have to take the initiative to attack, we can't always be beaten. Prime the attack? Why did you hit it? I don't know where Crystal is. I smiled bitterly and felt like I had no heads. If you don't know, go find the trace. The starry sea is so big, there are always places with answers hidden. Irene's eyes must have surprised me. After the collapse of the Alliance, many civilized forbidden areas have become unmanned areas, and there may be crystal traces or sources of inquiries. Civilized forbidden place? It's not a good place to hear it. I curled my lips, but I knew in my heart that she had made sense. After the collapse of the Alliance, fragments of civilization in the starry sea were scattered. Each civilization has its own laws. Forbidden areas are often the strongest places in the laws, which are extremely dangerous, but they may also have the biggest secret. No matter how dangerous it is better than waiting to die. Erin said with a slight look on her shoulders and continued to repair the engine. I just found a nearby forbidden area on the star, a civilization called Skyfracture. She said that the laws there could distort the space and few people who came in could come out. It sounds great, it's a vacation. I rolled my eyes, but still agreed to her plan. After the thunder number was repaired, we adjusted the route and flew towards the direction of the igneous crack. On the way, my brain was full of the shadows of Juling and Zach, and I always felt that it had just begun. A few days later, the thunder reached the edge of the hollow crack. Looking far away, the place is like a scar in the sea of stars. The dark cracks are constantly passing through the strange light, as if they will swallow people in any time. The thunder scan system shows that the space rules here are extremely unstable, and if you are not careful, you may even be torn to pieces by the ship. Are you ready, Carl? Erin looked at me, with a small challenge in her eyes. I'm ready to die. I sighed, checked the equipment, put on light armor, and held the repaired energy dagger in my hand. The thunder number approached the crack, and the ship began to vibrate slightly, as if it was being pulled by some invisible force. Just as we were about to enter the crack, the scan system suddenly issued a sharp warning, and a strange energy signal appeared nearby. Erin and I looked at each other and a bad premonition arose in our hearts. It's not Zach's flying ship, the signal characteristics are completely different. Erin quickly analyzed the data, her face becoming more and more solemn, but this energy fluctuation is like the manifestation of some kind of civilized law. Realized? What does it mean? I stared at me, and before I could ask, the external image of the thunder captured a strange picture. A ghostly flying ship appeared in the crack. The ship was translucent, as if it was made of light and shadow, emitting a creepy sense of pressure. "Carl Thunder, I've been waiting for you for a long time." A blank and cold voice suddenly echoed in the communication channel, as if it was directly diamonding into my brain. I was stunned for a moment, and immediately saw a figure appearing on the deck of the ghost ship, a woman in a long black robe with a blurred face, but her eyes seemed to be able to see through my soul. "Who are you?" I clenched my teeth and tightened my dagger, and the warning in my heart was shaking. "I am Sarah Vakong, the guardian of the crack." Her voice brought a smile, which made people's backs swell. "I know you're looking for energy crystals and you know the truth about the sacrificial order. If you want to leave here alive, listen to my guidance." "Hear you? What are you?" I sneered. Although my heart was a little moved, it was still very strong on the surface. "Because you don't listen to me, you can't even get over this crack." Sarah's voice was as calm as if she was telling the truth. "The fragments of the energy crystal are among the 3 civilized forbidden areas, and this is just the first stop. And I can help you crack the magic and find the fragments." Aaron and I looked at each other and saw the silence in each other's eyes. This woman has an unclear future, but her words have indeed touched our pain points. If the energy crystal is really in the forbidden area, we have no reason to give up this line. "Okay, tell me your conditions." I took a deep breath and decided to listen to her plan first. "The conditions are very simple. Come into the rift with me. I will teach you how to deal with space laws and get the first crystal fragment." Sarah's voice was filled with confusion, but remember that the laws of the forbidden area will challenge your will. If you are not careful, you will be lost here forever. It sounds really good. I curled my lips, but still agreed to her proposal. Thunder followed the Sarah's spiritual flying boat and flew towards the depths of the crack. "Carl, this woman is not simple. Her energy fluctuations and cracking methods are completely synchronized, which shows that her control here is far beyond our imagination." Aaron's voice reminded me, her eyes full of worry. "I know, but we don't have any choice." I stared at Sarah's figure ahead, knowing in my heart that this collaboration could be a huge draw. After entering the crack, the influence of space laws became more obvious. The Thunder navigation system completely lost its spirit, and the concepts of time and space began to blur. I even had a mistake, like I had been through several hours, or like I had been through several days. Sarah's voice kept coming, guiding us to avoid the dangerous space cracks, but her language always made me feel uncomfortable, as if trying to explore something. The core of the forbidden area is in front of it, the most powerful place in the space law. Sarah's voice sounded again. "Carl, are you ready? The first crystal fragment is there, but you have to get it yourself." "Go and get it yourself? What does it mean?" I raised my eyebrows, feeling that things were not that simple. "It means you have to leave the boat and enter the core area." Sarah's voice smiled. "Don't worry, I will teach you how to deal with the law, but whether you can come back alive depends on your ability." I bit my teeth tightly and glanced at Aaron. She slammed her head, obviously not going to be a risk for me, but I knew that if we didn't try, we would never find the crystalline trace. "Okay, I'll go." I stood up, checked the armor and weapons, and prepared to leave the Thunder through the air gate. Aaron wanted to say something, but in the end she just clicked a little, her eyes filled with worry. The moment I stepped out of the gate, the pressure of the space law instantly came over, and I felt like I was being pulled by countless hands, and my body would be torn to pieces at any time. Sarah's voice echoed in my brain, teaching me how to adjust my mind and resist the influence of laws. I followed her guidance and slowly adapted to this pressure and moved towards the core of the forbidden area. The core area is like a huge space maze, surrounded by twisted light and shadows and floating fragments, and every step is like catching a life. Sarah's voice kept rising, helping me avoid the deadly rift, but I also felt more and more that she seemed to be ignoring something. Finally, deep in the mist, I saw a floating crystal, emitting a faint light, jumping like a living thing. My heart beat faster and I knew that this was the first energy crystal fragment. But just as I reached for it, the space around me suddenly shook violently, and a huge crack appeared in front of me, like a huge mouth that was about to swallow me. Carl, be careful, that is the realization of the law. Sarah's voice brought a rapid momentum for the first time, but I could no longer react. I could not react. I stretched out countless light and shadow touching hands from the crack and rushed towards me. I instinctively lifted my dagger and tried to hit the map, but the force of my touch was too great, and I directly flew and hit the edge of the maze. I bit my teeth tightly, my brain flew quickly, trying to find out how to remove myself. Sarah's voice echoed again, telling me how to use space laws to counterattack, but I know that it depends on myself whether this battle can survive. My body was hit hard on the twisted light wall around the maze, and it hurt like my bones were about to fall apart. Those light and shadow touching hands didn't give me a breath, like a living snake, twisting towards me, carrying a sensation of pressure that made people's skin numb. I bit my teeth tightly, and my hands holding the energy dagger were shaking, but my brain was very clear, and it was not the time to be jealous. Carl, concentrate. Use the waves of space laws to integrate your consciousness into the twists around you. Sarah's voice burst into my brain, and she hurriedly carried a cold and quiet. Although I was still skeptical about her, I had no choice but to do what she said. I closed my eyes and tried to empty my brain, feeling the strange pressure around me. The space law is like an invisible net that wraps around me, and every wave of the wire is like pulling my nerves. I followed Sarah's guidance and tried to let my consciousness follow this wave, as if I was integrated into a borderless ocean. Slowly, I felt the weight of my body lighter, as if I could float at will, and the attack speed of those touchers also slowed down in my eyes. Just now, counterattack. Sarah's voice sounded again, and I suddenly opened my eyes, and the energy dagger in my hand drew an arc of light, directly blocking the touching hand that was closest to me. The touching hand made a sharp sound, turning into light and dissipating, but I didn't have time to be happy that more touching hand had already been swept. Is this thing not finished? I lowered my voice, dodged and counterattacked, and flew in my brain. Although the space law makes me reluctantly able to deal with these touches, my physical strength is being consumed quickly, and if this continues, I will be exhausted to death. Carl, the core of the guard is deep in the crack. If you break it, you can stop the attack. Sarah's voice was filled with anxiety, but you have to be fast, the space law will invade your consciousness more and more. If you drag it for a long time, you will be lost. Lost? Say it earlier. I gritted my teeth and glanced at the cracks that were not far away. It was as dark as a bottomless pit, scattering creepy waves, but there was a luminous core inside, which was beating like a heart. I know that's my goal. I took a deep breath and took advantage of the attack of my touch and rushed towards the crack. The pressure of the space law instantly increased, and my mind seemed to be stuck with countless sticks, and it was so painful that it was almost collapsed. But I gritted my teeth, held the dagger tightly, and pierced into the crack. The scene in the crack was completely beyond my imagination. There were twisted glasses around it. Each lens reflected a different me, some were laughing, some were angry, and some were even flowing. These pictures seemed to tear my memory, making me unable to tell the difference between reality and illusion. My brain started to get confused, and even had a kind of impulse to give up. Carl, don't be confused. Those are the tests of the will of the law on your, focusing on the core. Sarah's voice was like a thunder, pulling me back from the chaos. I shook my head suddenly, forcing myself to stare at the glowing core, and move forward. The touch became even more crazy in the crack, as if he knew what I was going to fuck me and tried his best to hold on to me. I tried my best to avoid and fight back, and I was injured by a few injuries on my body, and my armor began to smoke, but at the last moment, I rushed to the core. Go to die. I shouted, focused all my strength on the dagger, and stabbed into the luminous core. The core burst and then burst into pieces, turning into countless light spots and dissipating. The crack began to shake violently, and the touch around me collapsed. I was blown away by a powerful shock wave and fell out of the crack. I slammed heavily on the ground of the maze, my brain buzzing and almost didn't carry it. But the good news is that the touch is gone, and the pressure of the space law has also been greatly weakened. I gasped, got up, stumbled to the floating crystal, and stretched over with my hands, finally holding the first energy crystal fragment. Holding this thing in your hand, it was as warm as life, emitting a faint light. I could feel a powerful energy flowing in it, as if it could change everything. My heart beat faster and I knew that this thing was the hope we were looking for. "Carl, you did it." Sarah's voice sounded again, with a small amount of praise this time, "but this is just the first step, and there are 2 fragments waiting for you in other forbidden areas." The first step was almost killing me. Can I still be alive afterwards? I smiled bitterly, stuffed the crystal fragments into the pockets in the protective armor, and turned around and walked back towards the thunder. Although the influence of space law is weakened, it still makes me feel like I am trekking in a mud every step. Back at Thunder, Erin's face was harder to see than me. As soon as she saw me, she rushed over and checked my wounds, and said nothing. "Are you guys like me killed by iron? You dare to fuck me in such a thing? There is no way. Who will make me a long haircut?" I grinned. Although it hurt so much, I was still quite proud in my heart. Erin rolled her eyes and said nothing, but just silently helped me deal with the injury. Sarah's spiritual boat was still parked next to the Thunder. Her figure appeared on the holographic screen, her eyes were still so profound and unpredictable. "Carl, take a break, the next stop will be even more dangerous. You need time to adapt to the influence of space laws on consciousness. Where's the next stop?" I leaned on the back of the chair, took a sip of the synthetic beverage, and tried to relieve my fatigue. "Time Crack, a forbidden area directed by time laws." Sarah's voice was calm as if chatting about home. "The law there will allow you to experience the past and the future, and even change your memory. You must learn to distinguish between truth and falsehood, otherwise you will be trapped in the cycle of time forever." It sounds great, and it's another good place to die. I curled my lips, but my heart was ready. Since we have embarked on this path, there is no possibility of going back. In the next few days, the Thunder navigated slowly in the sea of stars, moving towards the Time Crack. Sarah appears from time to time and teaches me how to respond to the influence of time laws. Although her attitude still makes me uncomfortable, I have to admit that her guidance is indeed useful. Erin was busy repairing the Thunder system, analyzing the energy fluctuations of the crystal fragments and trying to find more traces in the picture. Finally, we reached the Time Crack. The place looked like a glowing wound, and the blurry image was constantly flashing in the crack, like fragments of the past and the future intertwined. The Thunder system issued a warning again, and the interference of time laws made navigation completely blue, and even the clocks on the ship began to jump. "Carl, I'll go with you this time," Erin suddenly said. Her verbal spirit was too unrestrained. "The law of time is too dangerous, and you can't afford it alone. No, Thunder Number needs someone to guard. You have to accept me whenever you have something to do." I shook my head. Although I was very moved, I still refused her proposal. Respond to the fart, this broken ship should have entered the wasteland station long ago. Erin glared at me, but in the end he was still in harmony, but his eyes were filled with worry. I put on my armor, put on crystal pieces and weapons, and stepped out of the gate again. The influence of time laws came in an instant, and I felt my memory began to blur. The past clips were played in my brain like movies, including the glory of me or the Alliance for a long time, and the hope of the Alliance after the collapse. I even saw Zack Darkblade's face and walked towards me with a sneer. "Don't be confused, Carl, these are just projections of the law." Sarah's voice echoed in time, pulling me back from my illusion. I bit my teeth and forced myself to focus on the road in front of me and move towards the depths of the cracks. The core area of the Time Crack is like a huge clock, surrounded by floating wheels and fingers, each of which emits a strange light. I could feel that time was stretched and compressed here infinitely, and each step seemed like it had lasted a year, and it seemed like it had only passed 1 second. Deep in the core, I saw the second crystal fragment floating in the center of a huge grove. But the surrounding time laws are more difficult to guard than the touch of space cracks. They use my memory as a weapon to transform into a familiar figure, trying to move my will. I saw the Alliance's warriors, Irene, and even myself, and said to me with a look of anticipation, "Give up, Carl, you can't save anyone. Roll open." I roared, using a dagger to cut a phantom, but every time I cut a phantom, a new phantom appeared, as if it wasn't finished. My will began to move, and my brain was full of warnings from Sarah that I could never go back if I lost in the cycle of time. "Carl, remember your mission." Sarah's voice sounded again, like a basin of cold water pouring on my face. I suddenly turned back to my senses, stared at the crystal fragments, and rushed over with all my strength. The phantom's attack became more and more fierce, and my consciousness was almost about to collapse, but in the end, I still held the fragment. The moment the fragment was received, the pressure of the time law disappeared instantly, and the phantom turned into light and dissipated. I sat on the ground, gasping for breath, feeling like I was climbing back from the ground. After returning the thunder, Aaron didn't say anything, but just gave me a bottle of drink silently. I took a big sip, and felt all over my body's fatigue coming. "The last piece of fragment is left." Sarah's voice sounded, carrying a long and meaningful linguistic spirit. "The crack of consciousness will directly attack your mind and face the deepest fears. If you can use this, the three pieces can be combined into one, activate the true power of the energy crystal." The deepest fear? It sounds good. I smiled bitterly, but I knew in my heart that this was the last try. The journey of the crack of consciousness is more violent than the previous 2 times. The law directly invaded my consciousness, making me face the powerlessness of the thing I least want to face, the collapse of the alliance, and the guilt that as the final leader could not save anyone. I almost collapsed in these emotions, but in the end I still got the last piece of fragments based on my thoughts on my mission. When the 3 pieces merge into one, the energy crystal emits dazzling light, and the thunder system also detects a powerful energy wave. Sarah told me that this energy is enough to reboot the Alliance's core engine, but only if we have to find the engine's position. The engine is in the ruins in the middle of the Starry Sea, but it has been dominated by Zach and his behind-the-scenes forces. Sarah's voice was as cold as if she was telling the truth. "Carl, are you ready for the last battle? Be ready to send them to see the ghost." I held the crystal tightly, my eyes firmly. Thunder adjusted its route and flew towards the center of the Star Sea. Aaron was busy upgrading the ship's defense system, and we began to study how to use the energy of the crystal to fight Zach. When we arrived at the ruins, Zach's fleet of flying boats was already waiting for us. His voice came through the communication channel, with a sneer, "Carl Thunder, you really dare to come? Hand over the crystal, I can make you die happily. Go to your heart." I cut off the communication directly and said to Aaron, "Prepare for a fight. If we don't solve him this time, who else shouldn't want to live?" The battle started as soon as it hit. Zach's fleet fired all out. Although the thunder no was broken, it was barely stopped under Aaron's operation. I used the energy of the crystal to combine the civilized laws I learned before to create space distortions and time interference, which made Zach's team fall into chaos. Finally, Zach and I were in front of the core engine in the ruins. He still looked so cruel, but there was a bit of jealousy in his eyes. I know, he also felt the power of the crystal. "Carl, do you think you can win me with this thing?" Zach sneered, and his energy knife pointed straight into my chest. "Will you know if you win or not?" I bit my teeth and activate the energy of the crystal. A powerful wave exploded from me, pushing Zach back a few steps. Our battle was extremely fierce, and each hit was like a life-threatening death, but I finally used the law to create a broken hole and pierced his armor with one knife. The moment Zach fell, I was almost unstable, but I still walked to the engine and embedded the crystal into the core. The engine emits a deep gecko, and then a dazzling light burst out, and the energy network of the entire galaxy began to restart. "Carl, you did it." Aaron's voice came from the headphones, choking. I leaned against the engine, gasping heavily, and watching the light of the sea of stars gradually recovering order, I felt no joy in my heart. Because I know that the conflict between civilized laws has not been resolved yet, and the power behind Zach has not been completely exposed. Peace in galaxies is only temporary, and new challenges will come soon. I turned to look at Aaron and grinned, Are you ready, deputy? I'll be busy next. She slighted her head, her eyes full of struggle. The thunder engine started again, and we flew towards the depths of the starry sea to welcome the unknown storm.